I guess, yeah, I would be typical. My first job was as a paper boy. And so I actually took over a route for my brother. And one of the things about being with a big family is that when you're a youngster, like I was, you didn't understand what you needed to do for contribution to the family. We were a big, poor family, so I was doing my paper route. My mother was actually a great accountant because she was the one that when you went out collecting for the subscriptions, she handled the money bag. So at the end of the day, when I went to settle with the circulation, then you would look at the bag, there was nothing in there. And I said, well, what was it with this? And so I learned very quickly that in the world of socialism, it really sucks. So there's got to be a profit in it before you move forward. So that was my first job as a youngster. So it must have been 11 or 12. And then moved from that to actually working in a restaurant. I think I worked in the local A&W there, and I was doing dishes, and actually, I guess I advanced to becoming a fry cook. And even advancing to become a fry cook, I was only getting 95 cents an hour. So I said, there's got to be something better than this. So actually, that's what encouraged me when I graduated from high school to, I still had the job, but I was actually going to New Mexico State University, Alamogordo in the evening. So, but I also learned very quickly that as I walked into my classes, I didn't, you saw a lot of hunger on people's faces, and I was wondering what was with that. Well, there was another guy that was attending classes with me too. He was from a Chinese family in Alamogordo, worked at a Chinese restaurant for his family. And one day I was off, so I was in class early, so he walked in from work. And he walked in, and as soon as he walked in, you could smell the Chinese food. So I says, I know why everybody was looking at me hungrily. It's because when I walked in, I smelled like A&W. I smelled like burgers and fries. So from that point on, I said, I'll run home and take a shower before I go to class. So it didn't do any good to go to night classes when everybody was hungry. When I looked at growing up in a small town, it's either local business and that the opportunities are you stay in your family's business, or then you look outside and say, well, what is there for me? At the same time, too, I really didn't have any career objectives. You kind of like are going along with wherever the wind blows, because I didn't say I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't want to be this. I didn't want to be that. I did know I didn't want to be a fry cook. So that was for certain. And I did know that I needed to educate myself. And I always looked at there was a big thing about blue collar, white collar, and my dad used to say, the guys with the white collars always got more money. So I said, well, I was going to be looking towards white collar and see what it took to become white collar. And so that was kind of like one of those things that spurred me along to continue my education. The other is there's other things going on, events that drive you. And at the time, the Vietnam War was going on. At the time, the way out of a small town was either join the military. You were particularly missing a lot of role models, particularly in Hispanic culture, as to what was your potential and what could you become. For the most part, most of the Hispanics you ran into were either in the teaching profession or something like that, so my first foray was into teaching. But I soon learned that there were other opportunities as well when I went to main campus in Las Cruces. So, but yeah, at that time there was a lot of choices that were either being made for you because you were going to be drafted in the lottery, or you looked at other alternatives. Okay, I actually think my time at New Mexico State was one of the great periods in my life. And when I say that, it's because I discovered at New Mexico State University there were no boundaries. So when I talked about Alamogordo public school systems in high school, you had the tracking system. But when you went to the university, there was no boundaries. There was no tracking system. There was no limitations to what you could pursue or what you could achieve. Picking your career objectives or your course selections or whatever was all based on you, your decisions. So I found that very freeing. what could be very regimented expectation. I kind of see some of the legacy in my parents as they grew up as far as what was expected, what was not expected of Hispanics and their role in the community. So I look at it when I was at New Mexico State University, there were no boundaries. It was diverse. You were on equal footing with everybody else. It was very egalitarian. It was, you were incented just by the environment to learn. I've been working with a lot of young people and a lot of mature people. Even when I was talking about the technology, the gaps in the age and the way the adoption goes, is I see a lot of young people not wanting to work for big corporations. And then I see a lot of people in the big corporations afraid to take that next step of working without the support, being an entrepreneur. And so it's one of those things when you look at the future of business is what it's going to be. What's the backbone of this country? The backbone of this country is small business. And there are lots of big monolithic corporations. I think today's young people discount what you can learn in big corporations. I've had an unusual career course in that I worked in a big corporation for close to 14, 15 years. And that was a tremendous learning experience for me. I wouldn't be where I was today without that learning. Today's young people look at, I don't want to work for a big corporation. One, because of the growth, and two, it might be restrictive. Three, politics. There's a wealth of reasons. The fact is that you got to approach business as business and look at what you can learn in each of those environments. But the fact is small business and big business are ecosystem that need to work together. Small business supplies big business supplies small business, and realize that when it comes down to it is knowing business, knowing exactly what you want to achieve, and that should be the governing factor of what type of business experience you get. Well, I think success is whatever you, that's a tough question, because I think success is very personal. Success is if you wanted to be the best violin player and you are successful. If you wanted to just be an okay violin player and that was your expectation, then you are successful. So I think it's really tied and related to your own personal objectives and goals. And so I think one of the things that I never did as a youngster or never actually laid out the plan of what were my objectives. And I think today it's imperative that I lay out objectives. And it's imperative that I lay out those objectives that, what you call reach objectives, and that you achieve them. It's also imperative that you recognize that some things aren't just going to happen. And you have to be very aware of that fact that that's not going to happen. So I think success to me is setting objectives and achieving them. And also it has to be personal in that, are you comfortable with where you are today? One of the things I always tell people that I work with is, I said, if you're comfortable, then you're not going to change, and you're not going to make any changes to move on or go elsewhere. Because if you're comfortable, that means you don't want to change anything. You just want to be there. And so one of the tests I had, because I used to have a lot of developers, I said, are you comfortable with what you're doing today? And they said, yes. And I got some that I said, are you comfortable with what you're doing today? And he says, no, I learned from you, I'm not comfortable. And the reason that you're not comfortable is because you cease learning. And so it's the Tom Peters philosophy, or all the other management gurus that talk about it's always a learning experience that you got to go through, and you got to continue to learn. And so I take that seriously. So if I'm not learning, I'm not succeeding. If I haven't achieved my objectives, I'm not succeeding. And if I'm not setting objectives, I don't have any chance to succeed. I think the advice that I would give, at least I won't call them kids, because I know in graduate school they're more than kids. They can be adults, so they could be people that are restructuring their career and moving into other arenas that I may have experience. One thing is to make sure that you focus on relationship development and your relationship development skills. And I say relationship development, the business I'm in, everything is based on relationship. You never know what's going to happen with a particular relationship. All business is done is based on relationships, whether it's customer relationship management, whether it's sales relationships, whether it's relationships with your suppliers or partnerships. One of the things that the company that you were saying, what is it, Scient, is all based on relationships. Whether you do work with that particular company or do work with them again is all based on the strength of your relationship. And so that type of skill is work on those relationships. Relationships with your professors, relationship with the community around you. If you are in doing work with during the summer working with IBM, work on those relationships and maintain those relationships. I think a lot of people look at that as water under the bridge. But you never know that the relationships you establish today are critical to the relationships you're going to have for tomorrow. It's kind of like the 6 degrees of separation. The 6 degrees of separation is you never know who this person is connected to, who this person is connected to, who this person is connected to. In Silicon Valley, everything is based on relationships and who you know and what you need to accomplish. And that's true, I think, in everything you do in every aspect of business. Right, I do think it's a great honor to be inducted. And I did have a brief conversation with Richard Leza, who's one of the founders of HispanicNet. He's in the Hall of Fame for the College of Engineering. And he said, that's a great honor. And he said, it's actually very big. And I said, I guess it is very big. And so to be recognized, I think it is I'll call it a startling achievement. And the reason I'll say that is because when I informed my parents about the induction and told them I would be arriving in April, and they said, I can't wait to talk to all our friends, all our neighbors, and let them know that my son is in the College of Business Hall of Fame. And so it is a big deal because one of the things that's going to be the result is the families getting together. It's my sisters are flying in from all over the country. My brother's coming down from Farmington. So everybody is coming down for the induction ceremony. So I guess that in itself says something in recognition of bringing a far-flung family together to look at this induction and participate in it, and looking at it as really a career achievement, because you look at it, who would have thought? I look at it, who would have thought that I would be where I am today in my career, and I always look back to my education, and I always look at it from I see this commercial with the benefits of getting a college degree and the reward they provide you as far as the earning potential that you have. But the antithesis of that is, what is the cost of ignorance? And so if you look at that, I think I made a very great choice, and I think when I look at the Hall of Fame induction, it is a great honor.